Hi everybody, this is Oksana. In this video, we're going to be making a fun donut bead pendant. This is the exact one that we'll be making. It's the same design as this one, but I decided to twist the wire for just kind of a little extra effect there. And donut beads are so fun because they are easier to work with than cabochon, so they're great for beginners and they just have a really cool look to them. So before we get started here, I just want to say a huge thank you to Rio Grande for sponsoring this video. I'm using all of their wire, absolutely love their wire. It's awesome quality, and I use tools from them as well, which I'll show you in a minute here. So let's go ahead and get started making this pendant. So for tools, you're going to need wire cutters and pliers. These are the Swanstrom tools, wire cutters, and these are the Lindstrom pliers that I'm using. They are the RX 7890. And for my wire, I'm using 20 gauge square copper as well as 24 gauge half round. They're both dead soft, and these spools are from riogrande.com. If you would prefer to use round wire, you can do this designed with round wire. You would use 20 gauge round for your base wire, and then for your thinner wire, you can use something like 26 round, or you can use 28 as well, and you would just need to do a weaving pattern instead of wrapping around and around like I'm gonna do for the bail. So I'm starting out with one piece of that 20 gauge square wire, and it's 12 inches long. The donut bead that I'm going to be using is Sodalite, and it is about 30 millimeters or an inch, a little bit more than an inch, like an inch and a quarter maybe. Here's what that looks like. It doesn't have to be this exact size. So what we're going to do is put the wire through the middle of our donut bead, bring the wire ends together here, and then just kind of press the wire like this, and we're going to take the end of it and put it through. You do want this to be tight, so if you need to get in here with your pliers because you're having trouble tightening it with just your fingers, then feel free to do that. But you do want that to be nice and tight. So pull on all the wires and press down on it as well to make sure that it's nice and tight up against the stone there. You don't want any gaps. And then these two wires, basically the ends of our wire, we are just going to press them together like this with our pliers. And then what that is going to do is it's going to line them up kind of side by side like this. So now if you wanted to use round wire, you could weave a pattern for this bail, or if you wanted to use half round wire, you can wrap the half round wire just around and around without needing to do a weaving pattern. So I'm taking the end of my half round wire, it's attached to the spool, and I'm just wrapping it around a few times to get it started like this. Just going to press that down. And what you want to do now, because this is still attached to the spool, is you just guide it with one hand, and then you just turn the piece with the other hand. And we're going to do this for a little bit because this needs to be tall enough to be our bail. But what you want to do periodically is just come in here with your pliers and press down on this. Like that, to keep it just nice and tight. So I'm going to keep going with this for a little bit. Once it's tall enough to be your bail, I'll measure mine. What we want to do is trim the wire ends and we want them to be on the back, so determine which side is going to be the back, and that's where you want your little wire ends to be. After trimming them, you just want to press down on those little wire ends, kind of hide them away. Oops, this one got a little bit messed up. There we go. I'm just gonna fix that up, and then I'll measure how long this little wrap is. All right, so here's how long it is. It's a little bit less than an inch, or for measuring it in millimeters, it's about 20 millimeters. Feel free to make your bail larger or smaller, it's up to you. So this is the side with the wire ends, so that's going to be my back, so I'm going to flip it over. This is going to be the front. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, bend it forward a little bit. I'm going to take my wires, I'm going to separate them like this. And now feel free to use some kind of tool, bail making pliers, round nose pliers, some kind of round object to bend this around, or you can just do it by hand like me, bending in this kind of rounded bail shape. You just want to continue bending it all the way around like that until you have your bail. And then what you want to do is take your wire ends and bring them forward, one, and then the next, kind of crossing over each other like this. And now we're going to do something that is decorative only. So what I'm going to do is take this topmost wire, and I'm going to wrap my half round wire around it just for looks. You can also twist these wires. Since they are square, they can be twisted for that twisted effect. So what I'm going to do is take my little half round wire, and you could have theoretically just continued it instead of trimming it here at the end of the bail. You could have just continued wrapping it around a single wire as well. And I'm just going to get it started. And now I'm just going to press down on that little wire end there. And let's push this over, just kind of all the way back here. There we go. I just, from the front, I don't want any bare wire to be visible. There we go. That looks good. And I'm just going to keep going with it because this is attached to my spool. I have to turn the piece and guide this wire. But this is going to be for quite a bit because I want this wire to be on here for decorative purposes. So I'm just going to do this off camera for a bit. All right, so I've wrapped that around for a little bit. I'm leaving this wire though, I'm not cutting it yet because it's really hard to estimate, you know, exactly how long this portion needs to be. It'll probably need to be a little bit longer, so I'm just going to leave this and continue once we kind of bend it into the shape and I can see how much further I need to go. So I was thinking about it, and I really do want to twist this wire to give it that twisted kind of effect. So normally you would hold the wire and twist the piece, but because I have this wire attached here, I don't want it to get twisted. So instead, I'm just grabbing the wire and twisting it while holding the piece in its normal position. That's kind of another way that you can twist your wire, and then you can see that twisted effect beginning to form. The longer you do this, the tighter the twist will become. You can kind of get in here closer if you feel like the twist is uneven and it looks tighter in some areas and not in other areas. And just feel free to do this as long as you want to get the effect that you want. All right, so it's getting to be a really tight twist here, so I'm just gonna run this wire through my fingers real quick to straighten it because there was some kinks in there from when I grabbed it with my pliers. There we go. So what we're gonna do is, let me straighten that out. I'm gonna take this wire, we're gonna bend it down like this, just kind of like swoop it down, and then we're gonna take this wire and we're almost gonna just follow that wire by bringing it up and just kind of around like this. And what I'm gonna do now is I want these two wires to kind of stay together, and one easy way to do that, since I have my weaving wire here, is to just kind of bring it around both of them like this, forming a wrap around both of them. And now I'm going to wrap around that original wire that I was wrapping around just a few times. So let's do 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. Let's press on this. And let's do that one more time, where we go around both of them. And then just the bottom 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And one last time around both, and then just around that single one. 1, 2, 3. We might have to do a little bit more later as well around just that bottom one. But now our wires are just nice and connected. So what I'm going to do now is I'm holding my piece upside down, and in this area here I'm going to press down with my finger here, and I'm going to turn both of these wires. That's why it's helpful that we wrapped around the both of them so they stay together nicely side by side. Kind of keeps them together. So I'm just going to keep turning until I have completed a loop there. Trying to just get the positioning correct. There we go. That looks good. And this wire kind of got pushed forward here. You can see that gap there. So I'm just gonna get that closer. All right, so here's what that looks like. And actually the reason that we need to keep wrapping is so that when we put these wires through the middle here, the wrap will not just end abruptly, it'll kind of continue in there. So it looks like we're really close to that edge there, so I really only need to wrap a few more times just to be, you know, extra sure that it's long enough. Just a few more times, and then that looks good. I'm gonna trim that. And leave a little end so that the end gets pushed in there and isn't on the front here. So pressing down on that little wire end so it's under there. Here's what that looks like. Now the hard part is putting these wires through. What I'm going to do is just kind of lift it from the piece, make kind of a bend here, and trying to get those ends through there. And if your ends are really long, you can trim them a little bit, but you do want a little bit of length to them because we have to finish off these wires as well. So mine are not so long that I need to trim them. So we got that through. Now we can kind of press everything back down since it all got lifted up. I'm just gonna pull on these. Try to have, you know, this be nice and tight. If your bail got twisted, you can fix that. So there we go. Now we just have to finish off these 2 wires. So here they are. on the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one at a time. So I'm going to take the one here. If we're holding it this way, then it's the one on the bottom. And I'm just going to take it and put it through my bail. Kind of pull it through like this. I'm going to take that and just make a nice tight little wrap around the back part of my bail there that I'm going to trim. And I left myself a little wire end there so that I can take that wire end and turn the wire end inwards this way and press it down. Like that. So the wire end is hidden away. Now I'm going to take the next wire, put it through as well. I'll keep everything nice and tight here. And we're also going to trim and tuck that end away. So I'm just trying to push that wire end in there, close it up almost this way. There we go. Now the wire end is kind of pointing in there and it's hidden away. Make sure you can't feel it. Now because this is a donut bead, you might get some movement depending on how symmetrically cut your donut bead is. You might be able to like spin it like a fidget spinner. Mine looks like it's a little bit thicker in some parts and thinner in others, so it like gets tight and is hard to spin. So I can almost like just push it onto the part where it doesn't spin and then it's stable if you don't want it to turn, if yours is like mine. And that's it. We're just gonna fix up this bail if anything is kind of uneven and needs to be fixed. This wire is pressed down and everything looks good. Alright, so here's the finished piece, and here's another one that I made that is similar, but I did not twist the wire here. So you can see the difference between the twisted and the non-twisted wire, but these are really fun to make and I think they turn out really cute. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave me a like down below and don't forget to subscribe. I post new videos every weekend. I'll see you next time. Bye.